So the gym like softens the mood a little bit because you get that little bit of the
I
start.
like it. It's a good song too.
I appreciate it, man. Hey, firstly, thank you so much for the time, man. I sincerely mean this and appreciate it. I've been wanting to ask you onto the show. I know I wasn't talking to you before the episode, but I've been in the text field gonna ask. I know how kind you are with your time, so I just didn't want to steal it from you. And then yesterday, when you pinged me and you said, "Hey, I've got to come up. I want to see you in the office,"
I had no choice.
I was like,
There was no
"Let's."
choice. You're helping me. I've got to do it for you. Simple as that.
And I appreciate it so much. So, yeah, typically the show starts with like this flash intro, and it's, mate, for you, I just think you just got such a good energy and you're just such a good bloke. That what I was going to say to you pre-kickoff of the show is this show and the idea of it, Good Company, is about people who build good companies. So that's the first premise of it. But the second premise is when I had the idea for the show, you wouldn't know this, but we were at a dinner event.
Yep.
I was sat beside you.
Yep.
It was my wife and your wife. And I knew you prior to that event, right?
Yep.
But we just got to chatting, and like in the brief, I suppose, interludes of the awards and so on, just some of this stuff that you were saying, I was like, right, I need to be able to sit these people down that genuinely interest me and learn more than it. And I'm not going to make this too soft because I know
You're
that's
too kind. You're too kind.
it's not the angle that that some of the listeners want to hear, but so that you know, Good Company is about that. It's about people that run outstanding businesses and companies, but they're good to be around. And I know that there's a lot to learn from talking to people like yourself. So without further ado, Sime, explain who you are and what you have done up until this point.
How long we got? Mate, born in Canberra, close to 50 years old. Love business. Went to school because my dad made me do it. I'm not a big believer in higher education for myself, not for it's not for everyone, yeah. So I wasn't the smartest bloke, but I knew a lot of people. I knew how to get things done. Ended up doing my accounting and finance, majored in law, went and worked for a company for about 2 weeks and decided it's not good for me. So long story short, ended up in the quarry that my father started back in 1964. Mate, it was like breathing for me. So I was in there since I was a kid. Started there when I was about 4 years old. I was loading trucks out when I was 7. Dad would leave me in there on a Saturday. So if that happened these days, you know what, you'd probably end up all over Google News, wouldn't you, or whatever it is.
You'd have compliance out there, 100%. 100%.
I only learned about compliance about 15 years ago. So there you go.
Yep.
I was just doing stuff very rogue because that's how I was taught. Simple as that. There was no sort of rules. It's a quarry. You know what? It's a bit of a cowboy country back then. So I was in that quarry for about, since I was a kid. Took over at the age of 22, full time. When I say quarry, it wasn't a massive quarry. It wasn't like a borrow quarry or something like that. It was just a little pit with a little backhoe. I'm a big believer in making deals. If you can make a deal happen, you make the deal happen. Yeah. So my first real decent sized machine was an excavator. I bought a 20-ton excavator. I didn't buy it. I did a deal to get it. So I swapped a bit of dirt out that I didn't need. Yeah. So I cleaned out my quarry, swapped it out for a 20-ton Caterpillar excavator, which was pretty bloody cool. Yeah. But when I did that one, I couldn't operate excavators.
Right.
So they came to drop it off in the quarry on the back of a float.
You were supposed to get it off?
Yeah, I did. The guy said, jump in and get it off. And I jump in this 20-ton and you're walking it off off the back of a float. So never scared to give anything a go, to be honest here. So I did that. In the meantime, in the ACT in Canberra, nothing's actually owned. It's all leasehold. So we had a lease over the property. Government came in, they wanted to reclaim it, take it back for themselves, and I had a fight in my hands. So that took about 9 years, that fight. And in the meantime, I had to sort of preempt what was going to happen. They had compliance, so WorkSafe ACT came into the picture. They closed me down within the first 3 months. of this 9-year battle. Didn't reopen me for another 4 years after that. So I had, listen, we're recording now. I'll tell you exactly what happened. So I ended up buying a truck at auction up in Newcastle. I'm chopping and changing here a little bit, but it's all going to make sense. I bought this truck because I preempted the government was going to close me down.
Yep.
Yeah. So I've gone and bought this truck. I've never driven a truck before in my life either. Yeah, like a big truck like that. So I've gone and bought it. Ended up getting it back to Canberra somehow. And I set up importing stone out of Sydney. So we used to do runs Canberra to Sydney, Sydney back to Canberra, full of stone. Now, the stone in Sydney, we were getting for next to nothing because they were trying to get rid of it up in Sydney and they're actually paying to get rid of it. Where for me, that was a saleable product. So I was bringing that in from Sydney, running it down the highway, selling a load of stone for about, I don't know, $3,000 or $4,000 back then, which was a good day's work. So luckily I did that because the government did close me down within the first three or 4 months. But I was allowed to use the quarry as a stockpiling area. So we used to stockpile all the stone out of Sydney in there. I was fighting with the government, so I was fighting with the heads of government in the ACT. Got into the federal government at some stage as well there. Came all the way back down. But one thing I learned out of that is solicitors cost a lot of money. If you don't have the money, don't touch them. Yeah, you're cooked. You get done straight away.
And you were 20-something at the time.
Oh, yeah. So this all started. I took over the quarry at the age of 22. This happened when I was about 25, possibly, about 25 or so. I was married at the time. My wife is the best thing that ever happened to me. I can tell you that. That's another story. We'll get onto that sooner or later, I suppose. But yeah, that was my mid-20s. So by the time I was 30, I was nearly broke. Couldn't pay for anything, but I had a lot of good people in my corner. So everyone knew that I was good for it. Mate, my fuel bills, I was good for it. My everything, whatever I needed, I was good for it. They all knew, they all backed me. Nobody actually gave me money because I never asked for money. I never would ask for money in my life from anybody. To me, that's just who I am. Yeah, like I never, if I can't do it myself, I'm not going to ask for it. Yeah, money wise, never, financially, never, ever. Banks hated me because I used every single little bit of credit that I had. But even my bank manager was good. They helped me out a fair bit too. So I won't forget that either. Yeah, so moving forward, coming into my 30s, we're about 8 years into this battle with the government. And I learnt that persistence is the key, yeah? So I had no money. I couldn't engage solicitors. I had solicitors read over some documents at the start for me. They charged me about $9,000 to read these documents and then ask me questions because they couldn't understand it. So I was actually the guy that understood the quarrying and all the documentation. And these solicitors are charging me money to
then consult you.
To consult me, but I was actually consulting them because I had no idea what they were talking about. Basically, it was a one-off situation as well. We were one of 2 quarries in Canberra. There was no precedent set in anything. So there was no actual rules.
So can I just ask, what's your family thinking at the time? So you've come in quite young. The quarry is... sorry, go ahead.
Yes.
Are they thinking you're nuts, like he's come in here and things are just falling apart? Or is this sort of something that was cooking up in the background and they were always going to come into this space?
Going back to the start, I went to school and I did my accounting and finance. My dad never wanted me to work in a quarry. Yeah? He never wanted me to work outside, never wanted me to be a physical worker. He wanted me to work in an office in the air conditioning, he used to always say. We're wogs, yeah? So I was like, I've come to this country with nothing. Please don't do the same as what I've done, yeah? So I only went to school because of my dad. Basically, I wouldn't have given a rat's ass about it, yeah? So when I told my dad, when I quit my job, I didn't actually even tell him I was going to quit it. I just quit my job and came home on a Friday afternoon. I said, Dad, I'm not doing that job anymore. It's not good for me. And he said, what do you mean? What are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to go work at the quarry. He didn't talk to me for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So 4 weeks, it was dead. There was no conversation. Me and my dad are best mates here.
Yeah.
He had zero conversation with me. I'd get in the truck. I'd wait there in the mornings. He would drive to work. He wouldn't speak to me. I'd do what I had to do. We'd get back in the truck, go home. So after the 4th week, it was a Friday afternoon. My parents used to always go down the south coast. I'd always let Dad have a shower first. I'd go have a shower second. He'll go downstairs, have a couple of beers, and then he'd get in the car, have a couple of beers, get in the car. But have a couple of beers, get in the car, and drive down the coast. So I'm standing in the garage waving at Mum and Dad. See you later. We had a beautiful home where we lived. Dad worked very hard, saved his money. Mum was good at saving money as well. So we had a beautiful home to live in. And I used to always think, can't wait for you to go down the coast so I can get the boys over. Yeah. So they were going down the coast, reversing down the driveway, and I'm waving, and Dad drives back up the driveway, and he goes, by the way. And I went, oh, fuck, Dad's talking to me again. After 4 weeks. So I've been with him every day for 4 weeks, not a word. He goes, by the way, he goes, we're going down the coast. And I said, yeah, you always go down the coast. Like, what's the difference? And he goes, no, we're not coming back. I said, what do you mean you're not coming back? And he goes, good luck with the business. Good luck with the business. And he goes, and by the way, best to go and buy a block of land for yourself tomorrow because we're selling the house. That was it. I was 22 years old. You have to do well in your life. You got no choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Best, hey.
100%. He chucked me in the deep end. It wasn't really the deep end because he knew I could handle it. He knew I loved doing what I did. He was disappointed initially that I didn't want to go to school and pursue that career as an accountant or an engineer or as a bloody pilot or wherever it was that he wanted me to do. But he knew deep down that I loved doing what I did. And he knew that I was going to transform this quarry, into something that was actually going to make me decent money. So, yeah, did my family think I was crazy? I was mentioning to my parents as we were moving through this stuff with the government, these approvals, and my dad used to just say, don't worry about it, throw it in, give it back to him. My wife lets me do whatever I want to do, but she's a big supporter in whatever I want to do as well. So she supports me 100%. It wasn't easy for her to live through what we lived through, going through all this stuff with the quarry as well. 9 years of not having me there mentally, basically. Not easy, you know, it was very tough. So yeah, did I think I was crazy? Fucking I did, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things, like when, like, again, met your wife, best. You can tell, you could just, there's like something about it when you're sort of sitting there and you just meet people and you know there's certainty in the partnership. And there's that, like I was saying to you sort of before we started recording, like once you got that support, hey, it's just.
Nothing beats it. You know what? I'm 20 years ahead by meeting my wife, you know, so we've been together for 25 years this year, I think, been married for 21 next month, 2 beautiful daughters.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I always tell my wife she doesn't love me just to make sure she loves me even more, you know what I mean? But mate, you know what? The best thing that you can do in your life is find the right partner. And we'll touch on this probably later on, but I'm not a big fan of partnerships in business. Mm-hmm. I think the only certain partnership in your life is your marriage. Mm-hmm. Maybe not for everybody, but for me it is. There's no doubt about that. To find that in business is very hard. Mm-hmm. Simple as that.
So 25, gets the government come in, 9-year stretch. So when did it sort of look like that was going to start coming good? Or
it didn't. I camped in front of the legislative assembly in the ACT, so the government, mm-hmm. major government building down there. I came out of a meeting with these gooses I was dealing with for 9 years, and I had nothing out of it. And there was a bloke there. Anyway, I won't mention his name, but it was very high up. It was very high up in the leadership there, and he was in the building. And I said, "Where are you going, buddy?" And he said, "I'm going to the legislative assembly." I said, "What happens there?" And he said, "Oh, that's where all the rules are made." I went, "That's all right." So I ended up driving down there, and it was middle of winter in Canberra. It was like -2 at lunchtime. So I swear to God it was. And I was down there in a t-shirt, went and bought a jacket and sat out the front. And I sat there. And this bloke walked out of the building and he said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Mate, I'm waiting for that bloody goose to walk out of the building, yeah, that I had to deal with." And he said, "You're for real? You're actually sitting here waiting for him to come out?" I said, "There's only one way in and one way out." And I go, "The guy's not God. He's got to talk to me sooner or later." Yeah. So I'll say that, mate, Gary, the guy's name was Gary. Gary ended up going back into the building and he said, "Mate," so I'm standing at the front. He goes, "He's been trying to talk to you for 9 years. You've given him the cold shoulder. What am I going to do about him?" And he said, "You know what?" He goes, "Just get it to happen." So The next morning, this guy, Gary, rings me up. He was the head of the department. He rang me up and he goes, who do you need in the office? And I told him exactly who I needed. And he said, come in at 8:30 tomorrow morning and we'll see if we can get this sorted. So within 45 minutes, I had 9 years worth of headache fucking sorted. 45 minutes. I remember that. I made some great friends and great relationships in that whole 9 years as well. I was, I'm an avid supporter of the Liberal Party in the ACT. There's no doubt about that.
So I suppose the nickname of the deal maker was probably already coming good before that happened, but mate, that just knocks it.
You know what? Like I said, persistence. It's patience and persistence. You know what? I'm probably not the most patient person in the world, but I'm fucking persistent. I can tell you that. You're not going to pull one past me because I'll wait for fucking ever to get it back.
9 years at least.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. So the funny thing was I had 2 licenses given to me. And we sat down and you know what? It sort of became a bit of a joke. Like we sat there and there was all the heads of government sitting in there and heads of departments and all that. And this one lady that I was dealing with for 9 years. And we had a love-hate relationship. She was a good person. She was just in a shit position. You know what I mean? She didn't know what to do either. So it wasn't like I hated her, but we had run-ins, you know, like I'd fucking walk into these meetings and fucking lose my shit and walk out of there. Mm-hmm. And then she'd ring me up half an hour later and go, you know what, we can take that off you. Don't be like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm, you know, like, again, being a WOG, I've got that Croatian background. Yeah, that fucking firing you. You can't stop it. Yeah. But we sat down in the final meeting and there was 2 licenses given. I remember that. And they were each $1,700. So fucking to sign a bit of paper. It was bullshit. Anyway, regardless. So they're all happy and this lady is all fucking, she's cheering that she's made this deal happen. And this Gary Blake, legend, I'll tell you, he was a bloody legend. And he's in the meeting and he's like, all right, so $1,700 and $1,700. I said, you know, I've actually got a fucking problem. And they're going, you got a fucking problem again. Like, you know what, we're here. You've got it to the end. What's the problem? And I said, I can only afford to pay for 1 license.
You kidding?
No shit. I had $1,750 in my account.
Yeah, right.
That was it.
Right.
And I said, I fucking can't pay the other license. And Gary looked at me and he said, you know what? He goes, you're for real? I said, I'm fucking for real, mate. So they gave me the next license for nothing.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Okay, so that comes good for you. And then I suppose, does everything just instantly turn there?
Yeah, listen, then I had to relearn a business. So basically, in the meantime, the quarry's gone to shit. So it's fucked. 9 years, you can't touch it.
Yep.
So that's gone to shit. In that 9 year, that whole 9 year process, I put a proposal together to rehabilitate the quarry. Mm-hmm. So at the start, I wanted to keep on operating it, but like I said, there was nothing in it. It was just going to be a headache. So the amount of money I was going to make out of doing all this compared to all the work and all the approvals and all that wasn't going to be enough to validate what I was doing. So I put a proposal together to rehabilitate the quarry, which is basically fill the hole back up with dirt. Whatever else, if I could put asbestos in there, if I could put concrete, but it all came back to dirt. So we put, that was part of the approval. That was the second license. The first license was the quarry. The second license, $1,700 was to rehabilitate it.
Right.
Now the rehabilitation was where the actual money was. We had about 1 million, 1.1, 1.2, 1.5 million tons of dirt that we could bring back into the quarry, and reform it into a mountain. Mm-hmm. So I had to learn all of that. Like there was no textbook. You couldn't just jump into the library or ask someone, how do you rehabilitate a quarry? What's the protocol? What's the procedure? It was fucking nothing.
It's 10 years on.
Yeah, there was nothing. There was nothing. Like in the ACT, we don't even have a quarrying department down there. So I'm actually rewriting these laws basically for the government, for me to follow at the end of it. That's probably why it took 9 years as well, because I'm trying to explain to them things that need to get put into place, which they didn't understand. And they thought I was doing it for my own benefit, which I probably was, but like it had to be done like that. So anyway, I get into this rehabilitation of the quarry. I saw the truck. So the truck that was bringing stuff in out of Sydney, I fucking get rid of that headache. I don't want trucks. I fucking hate the things, So get rid of that. I've got no staff. I've got no office. I've got nothing. I've got no toilet. So all this, moving forward, buy an office, buy a toilet block. Looks pretty cool. I need staff. So I don't like staff, to be honest here. there's just too many procedures, too many protocols you've got to follow. So I ended up going with subcontractors because it was only machinery that I really needed to have in place. That wasn't too hard. So I got onto one of my mates who's got a big company down there. He had bulldozers, excavators, whatever we needed. We had it, like it was a phone call. It's done. Yeah. So we started bringing dirt into the quarry. And I remember on the first one Saturday, I made pretty good money. And I thought I was king of the world, because I used to have to work for a month to make that kind of money. I made it on a Saturday. So that was a bit of a game changer for me, but not really realizing that was just the tip of the iceberg. So that Saturday was not even a warm up. That was where the game changer happened, in actual fact.
Yeah.
So yeah, I at probably at the peak of it, we were dealing with about 120 different trucks, doing turnarounds of about hour turnarounds. So we had it was a truckload or truck and dog load of dirt getting tipped out every minute, or say minute and a half in the quarry. It was insane.
I feel like if this was the movie, this is where the money signs just splash screen.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the best thing I did in my life. I I love my cars. Love them to death. Never spent money on cars growing up because I couldn't. I didn't have money to spend on it. So the first decent check that I got from a good job, I rang up the guys in Melbourne and said, put that Ferrari aside. I'm coming down tomorrow to pick it up. So I flew down. I didn't even tell my wife or my parents. No one. I didn't tell anyone. I came home from work. I said, I'm going to Melbourne tomorrow. What for? I bought a Ferrari. So that was the first thing I did initially. I went and bought a Ferrari straight away because I said, fuck that. Took me fucking 9 years to get here. If I die day after tomorrow, at least I fucking drove a Ferrari.
Correct. Correct.
It. So I did that straight away.
That story is, I laughed for hours after that dinner. You told the story. I walk up on the dance floor. I go straight to your wife. The Ferrari story. She tells the exact same story.
Crazy, dude. Crazy.
And you're still doing similar stuff these days. So
we'll get onto that one.
Okay, so mate, that's brilliant. I suppose there's not really, and that's what happens in these sorts of businesses. There's not exactly that blueprint for the next guy because that's not going to happen again.
No.
You know what I mean? I'll often ask throughout, if someone's stuck at this point, what do they do? But if they're stuck at your point, the blueprint that you use, completely different game plan these days.
It's there is no blueprint, and by there being no blueprint, you've pretty much got no competition either. Mm-hmm. And I've said this since I was pretty young about business. When you have to figure it out yourself and there's no one there to be able to teach you, you're on a good business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because if you can open up a book or jump on the internet and figure out what's going on,
yeah, everyone else can as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So high barriers to entry because there is no information about it. Basically, it's going to be a good business. Simple. Yeah.
Yep. Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay. So I suppose the work ethic and just how you've approached things, you've always been like a go-getter and a deal maker. Has that carried through since literally childhood and it's just being the way that you...
Yeah. You know what? I always try and find the simplest way to the ultimate point. Yeah. I don't complicate things. If I don't understand something, I'll ask people like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here today because I can't use my emails properly. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's for anyone else. That's a very simple.
Yeah.
That's a very simple fix. For me, you know what? I don't understand it. I'm just going to get Dylan to do it because he understands it. That's his job. But you know how to do it. So for me, it's easier to jump in a car or a truck or whatever I bloody come here and see you. You can get it sorted for me. Work ethic wise, I didn't have a day off in 25 years. I had pneumonia. Got pneumonia on a Friday. I was at work on a Monday. You know what I mean? So there's no days off. Holidays really didn't exist. And when they did, they were very quick in and out, sort of minimal holidays. And now it's different. Now we go on really cool holidays and stay really cool accommodation. And I've got 2 daughters and they love it. You know what I mean? It's cool. It was worth it, definitely. But the work ethic, always there. Simple as that. But it's just trying to get to that ultimate point the simplest way.
You 100% do.
I never complicated anything in my life. Never.
And that leadership, that's the next thing. Obviously you had the old boy ahead of you.
Yep.
But 22, like there's a lot to figure out for yourself.
You're a
there
puppy, mate.
still.
At 22, I look at 22-year-olds now. What do they know? Like, that's not being rude. It's the truth. What do they know at 22 years old? You know what I mean? They know how to jump on the internet. They know how to fucking Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. But what do they know about business?
Well, where do you think that leadership come from for you? Like, was it just like a belief in yourself, or like looking up? I suppose, like,
It wasn't about being a leader. You know what? It was about achieving the goals. Being a leader, it's being a leader it's thrown around a lot. You know what I mean? Yeah, a leader wants to make the best possible outcome happen the easiest way. That's me being a leader. Yeah. When I had the 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, 120 blokes in the quarry every day, in out, and I had one bloke that looked after all of it. Basically, I had Paulie. Paulie's an absolute champion. If I had another business, I'd put Paulie on there straight away to run it for me. But he was a machine operator. I had one guy running 120 blokes. Yeah, I used to call myself the lubricator. I'd go in there and just make sure the wheels are turning. Yeah, I'd go in for 5 minutes, 5 hours. Doesn't matter what it was, but I'd not be seen. I was the leader, but I was not seen. Those 120 blokes that used to come in with their trucks, I think maybe 5 knew my name. The other 100 had no idea who I was. So it's not about being a leader or learning leadership. It's about just making things happen, making things happen, and getting the ultimate outcome. You know what you want. You've just got to get there. They could go like that. Try and go as straight as possible. That's that.
now, I suppose anything exciting with your sort of energy, there's always something new coming out. So the exciting stuff. What are you building, launching? What have you recently done that's worth talking about?
So I was retired. Oh, shoot.
All good. Don't worry about that. Put it down, Craig. We'll sort it. Just,
That's right.
Lukey, can you help me out?
No, listen, I just broke something.
Don't stress it.
There.
Don't stress it.
What about?
We're back. We're back.
So I was retired for about 2 years there, or about a year and a half, call it. The last 2 years I didn't do much work. And I was giving my wife the shits at home. I was taking the kids to school and picking them up every day and taking them to soccer training and gymnastics and you know what, the whole lot. And then I'd sort of walk around the house and do all the gardening and do the whole fucking thing around the house. And I'd be going to the wife, what are we doing? Where are we going? We're going to the shops. Let's go for lunch. What are we doing? And she ended up giving the shits with me after 20 odd years. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you need to go get a job. Anyway, one of my mates sends me a text message like a few months ago and he goes, fuck, I've got something for you. I said, what is it? And he sends me this photo of a truck. And I said, you can go fuck yourself, you and your trucks. You know, I fucking hate those things. I told you, I'm not touching a truck ever again in my life after the quarries, mate, yeah? And he's like, no, have a look. So I've had a look at this thing and it was a custom built truck. It was a Peterbilt truck from the USA, custom built, and it was a limousine, basically. So I was one of one in the world, yeah? So he sent that to me on a Friday. I sent him a text back like, fuck you, dickhead. Don't send me that shit. Anyway, the weekend's gone through and it's a Sunday night and I'm showing my wife, I go, you know what? Okay, Adrian just sent me this message on Friday. Have a look at this thing. And she looked at it and she doesn't care about what I do. Like I can go and buy cars and fucking go on holiday, whatever. It doesn't matter. Do what you want, book it, just do it, buy it. But she never says do it or don't do it. Yeah. So I've showed her this truck and she's like, that's really cool. I reckon you should do that. So I knew I had to get out of the house. That was it. Like it was a done deal. So I rang up Adrian on the Monday morning. I said, listen, let's go have a look at the truck. And he said, mate, it's sold. Looks like it's done. And I said, no, it can't be done. Like, I've got to fucking have a look at this thing. So we ended up going up there and it was about an hour and a half drive. Went up and I walked into the shed. I remember the garage door opened. I walked in and I saw this truck and it blew my mind when I saw it. And I didn't even look at it. I sort of turned around and I went, fuck. So I spoke to Stu, the builder and the owner. I spoke to him for about 20 minutes and he goes to me, he goes, are you going to have a look at the truck? And I said, mate, I don't need to look at it. It's pretty much a done deal. So walked around, struck the deal, but in striking that deal, I've got a couple of mates and one of them is a Muay Thai boxer. And I said, mate, I'm buying this truck. My mate's a Muay Thai boxer. He's going into a championship fight in Brisbane. The only way I'm buying this truck and paying for it is if you guys drive him to the fight in the truck, because I'm going to be overseas at that time. So we wrote that down in a bit of paper and I gave it to him. That was my only
contract.
That was my only part of the contract that I needed. Yeah. And we ended up doing the deal. So that was a deal done. So the truck's a BlackOp. It's called BlackOp, the truck. It is cool. It's really cool.
Cool is an understatement. It is insane. So you sent me the truck, I think maybe the week after you bought it, and I was like, you're insane. But when you see it, it is literally like you will not see anything like
Nah, photos don't do it justice. Like people, you know, you jump on Instagram and you check it out and it looks pretty cool. But when you see it in real life, it's a game changer. It really is.
Bigger in real life.
Yeah.
It's like literally next level.
Yeah, bigger, definitely. I was driving here and I got stuck on that bloody road up at Mount Cotton somewhere that I said no trucks or caravans. So I know how fucking big it is, trust me.
Okay, so you bought this truck and in your head back then, you're thinking, right, I've got at least one job, which is the Muay Thai gig.
Yep.
The limo and the service and all the other stuff, you just sort of figured out.
I'm a
along the way,
service person. I like making people happy. So I always said, like I dealt with that many people in business. We won't even go down the path, but I've opened and closed probably half a dozen different businesses. I was importing stone out of China at one stage in my 20s. I negotiated the deal. I'm a deal maker. I negotiated the deal for another quarry in Canberra. So I got a quarry approved within me and one of my really good mates. He got the approvals done for me, but we got a quarry approved in 6 weeks just outside of Canberra that the people were trying to get approvals for 35 years. They had 8 or 9 different groups come through, like guys that were proper business people, you know what I mean? Like quarrying experts. Everyone's an expert in their field, yeah? Mm-hmm. Took me 6 weeks, start to finish. I got it approved. I bought that quarry with $50. $50 I bought that for because I got a partner involved. And anyway, long story on that one, but it cost me $50 to own 50% of a quarry and 200 acres of land. I'm a deal maker, but I like making people happy. If you're not happy when I make the deal, it's not a deal. Everyone has to be happy. You're walking out of a deal, everyone's going to be happy out of a deal, yeah? It's no good me being happy and you being sad, yeah? So I'm always about making people happy. And this truck with the limousine on the back of it, mate, it's bought for me.
Man, that's the energy that's the thing that's going to make this just go ridiculous. So you've already picked up literally like A-list.
Yeah. We had Tyson Pedro in there. He's a former UFC fighter, mate, champion. So we really nice guy, him and the boys, such good fellas. I ended up taking him into Broadbeach and having a coffee with him and sitting down having a chat. And you know what, did a bit of extra work from him in the afternoon that evening. I've had Peter Andre in there, mate. That was really cool too. He's such a nice guy. Genuinely one of the nicest people I've actually ever come across. Him and his family. Mate, Troy Candy. He's the ultimate boy's boy for cars these days, isn't he? So, mate, champion people. And all these guys, they're just nice people. I don't want to deal with rubbish. I've priced it accordingly, so I don't have to deal with rubbish. But the guys that can afford it are usually genuinely nice people. So there you go.
And the experience is so unique that like you can literally pick and choose who you want to be around. And the experience is so unique that it makes it fun.
Yeah, definitely. It's not a job. Like, you know what? I'm jumping in a truck, which I did since I was a kid, which is something I didn't want to do, but I actually love it. It's part of my DNA, you know what I mean? Like, I love my cars. I love my trucks and all that kind of stuff. So it's not a job for me. I jump in and go for a cruise and I chuck my mate Adrian in with me, and Adrian's like the ultimate doorman. You know what I mean?
I was going to say, yeah.
He's the ultimate
and
doorman.
a legend as well.
Oh, mate. Yeah. He's been through business and he's semi-retired at one stage as well in his life. We met through a mutual friend as well. He lives down the road from me. So whenever I need Adrian, it's like, Adrian, I got a job on. He's like, yeah, let's go. So he jumps in the truck with me. But you're just having a chat with your mate. You know what? You've got good people in the back. You pull up, you have a chat with them, you take them, you do that extra. If it's an extra half an hour for me, more or less, what's the difference, really?
Mate, so for someone, I've got to ask, for someone just getting started, you really are where so many people want to be. They want to be able to get through the hard work, keep their principles along the way. And it really feels like you've done that. You've got the wife still there. You've got a good circle of just awesome people. Everyone we introduce mutually and know is just awesome people. So what next? What do you do from here? What's the plans?
you know what? I'm doing this truck at the moment, yeah, and I want to make this. You know, I want to make it like a landmark of Gold Coast, basically. I want people to know when they come to the Gold Coast, mate. Black Ops is there, yeah. Get picked up at the airport, Black Ops. Like I pulled up at the airport the other day. The pilots are coming off the plane, looking at this thing, taking photos of it. So that's it's just a testament to what the vehicle really is. You know what I mean? But what's next? I've called the Black Ops Private Transfers Australia, and I've had a couple of my mates say they sort of picked up on it. It's like, you've done that because you've added that Australia part to it. And I said, yeah, you know what? Like, you never know what happens down the line. So anyway, let's see what happens.
I appreciate it, man. From here, where can they find you? Where do they go to check you out from here?
Jump on Instagram. It's BlackOp Limo Truck. And we've also got a website, which is, what is it? BlackOpTransfers.com.
Correct. Mate, nailed it. I appreciate it. That's why we do it. That's why we do it. So agree.